Hello and welcome to UPSC Mains PYQ series by Shikara Academy. So in this series, we are discussing all the GS Mains questions asked by UPSC over the past few years, along with their model answers and exactly following the word limit. Okay. So in today's live session, we will be discussing the 2022 GS paper 1 from questions 11 to question 15. Let's begin. So the first question of the day: the political and administrative reorganization of states and territories has been a continuous ongoing process since the mid 19th century. Discuss with examples. A 15-mark question that we have to answer in 250 words. This is a question asking about the reorganization of states and territories within the country. Okay. Now, mapping it with the syllabus, we can see that it has been asked from the subject of history. Okay. It has been asked from the subject of modern history, as well as it has the aspect, or it has the angle of the post independence reorganization in the state, in the country also. So it comes under modern Indian history from about middle of the 18th century until present, and the post independence consolidation as well as reorganization within the country. Now, the approach that we'll take in such a question is that in the introduction, because we are given an introductory statement in the question paper, in the question we are given the introductory statement. Okay, so we'll deal with this introductory statement in the introduction of the answer, and then we connect the introductory statement. Okay, we connect the introduction with the body. In body, we address the demand of question by writing the reorganization during the British rule, that is from middle of the 19th century till independence. And then sorry then from post-independence reorganization, that is after 1947. And then in the conclusion, we will summarize the answer. So starting with the introduction, the political and administrative reorganization of Indian states and territories has been a continuous process shaped by historical, political, linguistic, and socio-economic factors. Okay. So uh, we have dealt with the introductory statement, we have introduced the answer. Since the mid 19th century, these reorganizations have reflected the evolving nature of the governance, territorial control, and the federal spirit of India. Now we have connected the introduction with the body with this line. Now, starting with the body, reorganization during the British rule. So, pre 1858. Okay, the British East India Company, when the company was having a control over the Indian subcontinent. So the British East India Company controlled territories through the presidencies like the Bengal Presidency, the Bombay Presidency, and the Madras Presidency. Post 1858, so after the Government of India Act 1858, that was post revolt of 1857, the British Crown reorganized territories under direct rule through the Government of India Act 1858. So after the revolt of 1857, the British Parliament passed the Government of India Act 1858, and the territories, the presidencies of the British East India Company then came under direct control of the Crown of the British Crown. Along with this, there were several administrative adjustments also. So there was creation of provinces such as the northwestern provinces, the Punjab after its annexation in 1849, the separation of Burma or Myanmar in 1937, which showed the administrative rationalization for the control and revenue collection. Then the post-independence reorganization. So first was the integration of princely states, that was from 1947 to 1949. Under Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel and VP Menon, 562 princely states were integrated into the Indian Union, that is the Dominion of India, through diplomacy and through force. So there was a carrot and stick approach by which Sardar Patel and VP Menon integrated 562 princely states into the Dominion of India. Then was the State Reorganization Act of 1956. It implemented recommendations of the Fazil Ali Commission, recognizing reorganizing the states largely on the linguistic lines. So the Fazil Ali Commission that was set up in 1956, under its recommendations, so there was reorganization of the states, okay, mainly on the linguistic lines. That is, It started with the formation of Andhra Pradesh in 1953, then Kerala, Karnataka, Maharashtra in 1960. Okay, Maharashtra and Gujarat, they were made as a separate state in the year 1960. Further small adjustments were done. Okay, there was creation of smaller states like Haryana in 1966, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, and Uttarakhand in the year 2000. And recently, quite recent example is the formation of Telangana in 2014 and the reorganization of Jammu and Kashmir into two union territories, that is Jammu and Kashmir and the union territory of Ladakh. Then, concluding the answer, we can write India's territorial reorganization reflects its adaptability to regional aspirations and administrative efficiency. So, we are focusing on regional aspirations as well as the overall administrative efficiency. From the colonial provinces to linguistically and administratively viable states, the process underscores the dynamic nature of India's federal structure and its commitment to the democratic accommodation. So, we have to highlight that uh, by reorganizing the provinces, by reorganizing the states, okay, we have in a way strengthened the India's federal, India's overall federal structure. Moving on to the next question, that is question number 12. Discuss the main contributions of Gupta period and Chola period to Indian heritage and culture. A straightforward 15-mark question that we have to answer in 250 words. Okay, we have to give main contributions of the Gupta period, the main contributions of Chola period to the overall Indian heritage and culture. Okay. Now, mapping it with the syllabus, we can see that it has been asked from the subject of Indian heritage and culture, that is the salient aspects of art forms, literature, architecture from ancient to modern times. Now, the approach that we'll take in answering such a question is that in introduction, we describe both the Gupta period as well as the Chola period, their timeline and their expanse in the country. Then in body, we write the contributions of the Gupta period and the contributions of the Chola period. And then in conclusion, we will be summarizing the answer. So the Gupta period, that is from 4th century to 6th century CE, and the Chola period from 9th century to 13th century periods represent the two golden eras in Indian history. Okay. So Guptas in the north and Cholas in the south. Okay. While the Gupta age enriched India's intellectual, artistic, as well as scientific traditions, the Chola age advanced the architecture, administration, and maritime culture. Okay. Together, they profoundly. So, the impact areas in the Gupta age as well as the Chola age were not same. Okay. In Gupta age, there was a focus on the intellectual stuff, artistic stuff, as well as the scientific traditions. In the Chola age, there was a focus on architecture, administration, and maritime culture. Okay, but together they profoundly shaped India's cultural and civilizational heritage. Okay, so starting with the Gupta period, so first is the art and architecture. There was development of distinct Nagara style of temple architecture. Example, Dashavartar temple in the Devgad. Then there was exquisite sculptures at Sarnath and Mathura showed the idealized human forms. Then literature and language. There was flourishing of the Sanskrit literature with the works of Kalidasa, that was Abhigyan Shakuntalam, the Vishakadatta and Sudarka. The compilation of Purans and Smritis consolidated the overall Hindu philosophy. Then was science and mathematics. Aryabhatta and Varahamira, they made lasting contributions in astronomy and mathematics. There was concept of zero and the decimal system was invented or it was discovered. Then there was religion and philosophy. There was promotion of the Hinduism, okay, along with tolerance of both Buddhism as well as Jainism. So there was a rise of Hinduism, but there was an overall tolerance for other religions as well, particularly the Buddhism as well as the Jainism. Then there was revival of the classical Indian art reflecting the spiritual harmony in the society. Then comes the contributions of the during the Chola period. Okay. So there was architecture. There was mastery of the Dravidian temple architecture, epitomized by the Brihadeshwara temple in Tanjavur, and there was introduction of large vimanas and elaborate gopurams into the Dravidian style of temple architecture. Then there was sculpture and bronze casting. There was creation of lifelike bronze icons, notably the Nataraja sculpture symbolizing the cosmic rhythm. Then administration and the local governance, because the Cholas they had a command over the local administration as well. So there was a highly organized village self-governance system that is held by sabhas and the Ur councils. Then there was maritime trade and culture, okay, because Cholas they were a maritime power. Okay, so there was expansion of the overseas trades and naval expeditions in the entire Southeast Asia, spreading Indian art and culture abroad, particularly in these South Asian countries. So, in conclusion, we can summarize the answer by writing the Gupta period laid the foundation of India's classical cultural identity, while the Chola era elevated it through the architectural grandeur and global influence. Okay, so the Gupta period laid the foundation, and on that, the Cholas built uh, on the legacy of the by spreading the civilizational heritage of India. Together, they symbolize India's enduring legacy of artistic excellence, scientific innovation, and the spiritual depth. Now, moving on to the next question, that is question number 13. Discuss the significance of lion and bull figures in Indian mythology, art, and architecture. A 15-mark question that we have to answer in 250 words. Now, it is also a question that has been asked from the subject of Indian heritage and culture, and the topic is salient aspects of art forms, literature, and architecture. Now, in such a question, we have to provide a relevant introduction describing the lion and bull in the Indian heritage. Okay. Then, in body, we write about the lion, the symbol of lion in Indian heritage, and the symbol of bull in the Indian heritage. And in conclusion, we will be summarizing the answer. So, starting with the introduction, the lion and bull are among the most enduring symbols in Indian civilization, deeply embedded in its mythology, art, as well as architecture. They represent strength, protection, fertility, and divinity, reflecting the Indian worldview where nature, animals, and spirituality are intertwined. So, the impact of lion in Indian heritage, where we see lion in Indian heritage. So we have mythological significance. So the lion symbolizes royal power and protection. Okay. So lion is also shown as the Vahan or the vehicle of goddess Durga, representing courage and destruction of the evil. And most importantly, the Narsimha avatar of Lord Vishnu, half man, half lion, also embodies divine wrath and justice. Then the lion in art and architecture. The Mauryan period used the lion as a symbol of imperial authority. So during the Mauryan period or during the Mauryan Empire, the lion was used as a symbol of imperial authority. The lion capital of Ashoka at Sarnath, adopted as India's national emblem, stands for dharma and state authority. The lions adore the gateways of the Buddhist stupas, Gupta temples, and Mughal palaces as guardians of sanctity and power. Now, the bull, the relevance of bull in Indian heritage. So it has the mythological significance. The bull Nandi is the sacred mount of Lord Shiva. Okay, and the Nandi bull is considered as the vehicle or vimana of the of Lord Shiva, which symbolize the strength, loyalty, and patience. Now, bull also represents fertility and prosperity, which is common in agrarian societies. So, from ancient time to till today, Indian society is considered agrarian. Okay, Indian economy is also considered agrarian. So that is why the bull represents fertility and prosperity. Now, the bull also appears in the Indus Valley seals, showing continuity of symbolism from prehistoric to the modern times. Its relevance in art and architecture, there was prominent Nandi sculptures face Shiva shrines in the temples of Brihadeshwara and the Kailashnath temple. Okay. So important southern temples, okay, dedicated to Lord Shiva, they had the sculpture of the Nandi bull facing the Lord Shiva's shrine. The bull motifs also appear in coins, seals, and terracotta figures, signifying trade and fertility. Okay. Then, in conclusion, we can write the lion and bull transcend more mere artistic are they transcend mere artistic motives, but they embody India's spiritual ideals like valor, righteousness, that is dharma, fertility, and devotion. Their presence across centuries of art, Indian art and architecture reflects the enduring synthesis of faith, power, and cultural continuity that defines Indian heritage. Moving on to the next question, that is question number 14. What are the forces that influence ocean currents? Describe their role in fishing industry of the world. A 15-mark question that we have to answer in 250 words. It's a question that has been asked from the subject of geography, and the topic is salient aspects, salient features of world's physical geography. Now, to answer such a question, in introduction, we describe ocean currents because the question is talking about the ocean currents. Okay. Then in body, we address the demand of the question by writing the forces influencing ocean currents and the role of ocean currents in the fishing industry. And then in conclusion, we will summarize the answer by signifying the writing the significance of the ocean currents. Okay. The overall significance of the ocean currents, will write that in conclusion. Okay. So the ocean currents are large-scale horizontal movements of seawater across the ocean basins. So this is the definition of the ocean current. They play a crucial role in regulating global climate, in distributing heat, and influencing the marine life. Understanding the forces behind these currents is vital for comprehending their impact on the world's fishing industry. Now, the forces that influence the ocean currents. First is the wind force. So, surface winds such as the trade winds and the westerlies, okay, trade winds in the tropical region and westerlies in the temperate region, they drive major ocean currents across the world. Example, the North Equatorial Current and the Gulf Stream originate due to persistent trade winds near the equator. Then there is Coriolis force, which is caused by the Earth's rotation. It deflects moving water to the right in the northern hemisphere and to the left in the southern hemisphere, giving a circular pattern to currents. So in the northern hemisphere, it moves the water to the right, and in the southern hemisphere, it moves the water to the left. Then there is temperature and salinity differences. Variations in temperature and salinity creates differences in the water density, because density is dependent on the temperature as well as the saline or the salinity of the water. Cold saline water, okay, water that is cold saline, it is denser and that sinks. While the warm and less saline water, it has lesser density, it rises, driving the thermohaline circulation. Then there is gravitational force and tides. The gravitational pull of the moon as well as the sun influences the tidal currents, especially near the coastal regions. Then there is configuration of coastlines and the ocean basins. The shapes of the land masses on the Earth's surface as well as on the ocean floor directs the flow and intensity of the currents, because the ocean currents, these are they are more severe, okay, in the southern hemisphere, because the landmass there is less as compared to the northern hemisphere. Okay. Now, the role of ocean currents in the fishing industry. First is nutrient upwelling. So, cold currents bring nutrient-rich water from the ocean depths. So, we know that the cold current, they are the cold water, okay, because it is denser, it remains below the warm water. But during the upwelling, this cold water, it comes out on top of the warm water. It so it also brings the nutrient-rich water from the ocean depths to the surface, promoting the phytoplankton growth, okay, which sustains the abundant fish population. Example, Peru or the Humboldt Current and the Canary Current support some of the world's richest fishing grounds. Then there is migration and breeding. The ocean currents, they influence the fish migration routes. Ocean currents influence the fish migration routes and the breeding pattern, helping fishermen to predict their seasonal catches. Then there is temperature regulation. Warm and cold currents determine the types of fish that will uh, fish found in different regions. For example, sardines in the cold waters and tuna in the warm waters. So in conclusion, we can write the significance, the overall significance of the ocean currents. So The ocean currents, driven by the combination of wind, Earth's rotation, and density variations, are the lifeblood of the marine ecosystems. By sustaining nutrient cycles and influencing fish distribution, they form a backbone of the global fishing industry, ensuring both ecological balance and economic sustenance. Moving on to the final question of the day. Describing the distribution of rubber producing countries indicate the major environmental issues faced by them. Okay. A 15-mark question that we have to answer in 250 words. Now, it is also a question from the subject of geography, and the topic is distribution of key natural resources across the world. The question is on rubber. The resource in the question is the rubber. Okay. So, in introduction, we describe the rubber plant, the expanse of rubber uh, across the world. Then there is distribution in the body of the answer. We write the distribution of the rubber producing countries and the major environmental issues that these countries or these regions are facing. Okay. Then in conclusion, because we are highlighting the environmental issues or the problems, so the conclusion will be a forward-looking conclusion in which we will be providing certain solutions or a way forward. So starting with the introduction, the rubber, both natural and synthetic, is a crucial industrial raw material used in tires, footwear, and various products. Natural rubber is primarily derived from the latex of the rubber plant that is scientifically known as Hevia brasiliensis, a tropical tree requiring hot, humid conditions with well-distributed rainfall. The production is largely concentrated. The production of the rubber is largely concentrated into the equatorial belt, okay, of Asia, Africa, and Latin America. So it is largely grown near the equator in the tropical region. So rubber is a tropical plant. Now, the distribution of the rubber producing countries. So in Asia, which is the leading producer. So Asia is the leading producer of rubber. The Southeast Asia dominates the global production, accounting for nearly 90% of the natural rubber output. Major producers include Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, and India. Thailand and Indonesia together contribute over half of the world's total rubber output. Okay, so Southeast Asia comprises 90% of the uh, world's natural rubber output, and in that, Thailand and Indonesia, they together account for over half of the world's total rubber output, natural rubber output. In India, the states like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and parts of Northeast are the key regions in which rubber is grown. Then in Africa, the notable producers are Nigeria, Liberia, Cote d'Ivoire or the Ivory Coast, or and the Cameroon. And production is smaller but growing due to the expanding plantations. So historically, there were less rubber plantations in the Africa in the continent of Africa, but with every passing year, with every passing decade, the share of Africa uh, is increasing because the plantations, the rubber plantations in Africa are expanding. They are increasing in number, they are increasing in area also. Then there is Latin America, where Brazil, which is the original home of the rubber. So Brazil was the original home of the rubber. It remains a minor producer due to diseases like South American leaf blight. Okay. So earlier, Brazil was one of the largest producers of rubber, natural rubber, but because of certain disease like the South American leaf blight, okay, the share of Brazil has come down substantially. Okay, and now Brazil remains only a minor producer of natural rubber. Now, the major environmental issues that these regions or these countries they face, first is the deforestation and habitat loss. So, large-scale conversion of tropical forest into monoculture rubber plantation is leading to the biodiversity decline. Okay, converting large forest, the tropical forest, because this is a crop that is grown in the tropical regions, and tropical regions are the home to one of the finest or the most biodiverse forests in the world. Okay, so but these biodiverse tropical forests they are now being converted into monoculture rubber plantations, which is leading to soil degradation. So continuous tapping and clearing reduce the soil fertility and increase the risk of erosion. Then there is water pollution. Use of chemicals in processing, it contaminates the nearby water bodies. So rubber requires processing. Okay, so the extract, the latest that we take from the plant that requires certain processing, and that processing adds to the water contamination in the nearby water bodies. Then there are climate change impacts. Changing rainfall patterns and temperature extremes affect the latex yield and the tree health. Okay, as we are witnessing in the 21st century, particularly, there has been climate change impacts. There has been seasonal variations. There has been variations in the rainfall patterns. Okay, so all these climate change impacts, they are leading to uh, they are having an impact, a negative impact on the latex yield as well as on the overall rubber tree health. Then there is loss of carbon sink. Replacement of the natural forest reduces the carbon sequestration capacity. So converting the tropical forests, okay, which are called the green lungs of the planet, okay, into the monoculture rubber plantations is also reducing the carbon sequestration capacity of the tropical regions. So as we have highlighted all the problems that are associated with the plantations of the rubber plants, now we have to, in conclusion, we have to give a forward-looking conclusion. Okay, we have to give an optimistic or a solution-oriented conclusion. So while rubber cultivation supports millions of livelihoods, okay, millions of livelihoods are dependent on the rubber cultivation in the tropics, its environmental costs are significant. Okay, significant practices such as agroforestry, mixed cropping, and reforestation are essential to balance economic growth with the ecological conservation. So we have to highlight this point that we need to balance the economic growth or the economic output of the rubber along with the ecological conservation. And how do we achieve that? By using agroforestry, mixed cropping, and reforestation.